I am Diana. I am the mother of a wonderful 10-year-old boy, and my life is a story filled with unexpected moments and valuable lessons. I am a tall woman with blonde hair and brown eyes, always wearing a warm smile. People say I have a gentle character, radiating a calmness that inspires those around me. I firmly believe that nothing happens by chance. Every step, every event in our lives has a hidden purpose. I'm courageous and optimistic, and whenever I set a goal, I always find a way to make it a reality. This is my story about the power of belief, a mother's love, and the surprises life has in store when you least expect them. 9 months ago, I had the courage to end a marriage that lasted almost 10 years, a relationship marked by narcissistic traits of my former partner. My relationship with my ex-husband began over a decade ago, seemingly carefree like a game. He was 19 years older than me, and at that time I never imagined getting married or starting a family. The age difference and my lack of emotional maturity allowed him to craft a carefully constructed image, a charming, tall, confident, financially stable man who seemed capable of taking care of me and loving me unconditionally. In the early years, the relationship seemed ideal. He was attentive and caring, pampering me with dinners, trips within the country and abroad, and small gifts that brought me joy. Everything seemed perfect, but what initially felt like a beautiful dream gradually turned into a toxic relationship. All of this made me fall in love with him, but I didn't feel I wanted to spend the rest of my life with him. During this period, as a contraceptive measure, he told me he was taking injections that would protect me from pregnancy. Believing him, I trusted that there was no risk. However, after almost a year of being together, I became pregnant. His explanation was that he had forgotten to take his injections, but I later realized that everything had been premeditated and meticulously planned by him. In my mind, considering that my grandfather just had passed away, the thought came to me that I needed to bring this child into the world, seeing it as a sign from divinity. One of my mistakes was not discussing these matters with anyone. My relationship with my father wasn't good, and I didn't feel comfortable enough with my mother to talk about such things. Moreover, my relationship with my ex-husband seemed stable, even though, in reality, I hadn't had enough time to truly understand him as a person. He was a secretive man who didn't share details about his past, and because of this, I remained in the dark for a long time about what lay behind his facade. He assured me that he would take care of the child and support me in everything related to raising and providing for him. He was happy that we were going to become parents, especially considering his age of 48, a time when he didn't expect to have children anymore. Everything seemed to proceed normally at first. We got married, the child was born, and our lives seemed to follow a natural course. Then everything went from bad to worse. My husband lost his job and refused to look for another one, claiming he couldn't leave the child with anyone. He stopped being attentive to me and began looking for reasons to argue, leaving the house and only returning in the morning. During this time, I discovered he was addicted to gambling, specifically slot machines. Although I noticed these changes, I kept moving forward because it was difficult for me to manage alone with a small child, and my parents didn't support me. On the contrary, they encouraged me to stay with my husband no matter the situation for the child's sake. As a father, he was obsessed with the child and believed he knew best how to care for him. This attitude often pushed me aside, with him frequently insulting me even in front of the child. When the child was just 2 years old, during an argument, my husband became enraged and strangled me until I turned blue, even though I was holding the child in my arms. In those moments, I felt a profound fear, especially with the child present, unable to defend myself as I should have. After that incident, I went to my mother and told her what had happened, hoping to receive at least a bit of moral support. However, her response profoundly surprised me, as she told me, "That's just how men are." I realized that she, too, had endured the same treatment from my father for years. It took me almost 2 years to gather the courage to leave, to make that radical change in my life and to stop being a victim. During that time, I was constantly blamed for everything that went wrong or poorly in my daily life. I felt increasingly distant from my son, and my role as a mother and a woman was disregarded, treated with disdain and ignorance. He constantly threatened me during every argument, saying he would take my child away and destroy me in every possible way. I received no compliments, kind words, appreciation, or gifts. He didn't communicate, was secretive, and acted behind my back. He deprived me of love, attention, tenderness, caresses, kisses, and behaved coldly and distantly, leaving the house without saying a word. I accepted this behavior for the sake of my child and to preserve the illusion of a complete family. Growing up in a traditional family, I believed it was normal to make sacrifices so that my son could grow up with both a mother and a father. I thought it was better to stay in a complicated relationship than to risk breaking up his family. At first, I kept everything to myself, not telling anyone what was happening, hoping these were isolated incidents and that he would change. However, as time passed, things worsened, and I began to see them differently. It was as if I woke up to reality like an animal caught in a trap, unable to escape a painful and suffocating reality. My soul was torn between staying in the marriage for my child or leaving to save myself. After deciding to leave him, truths about him began to surface. Hidden among his clothes, I found documents revealing that he had been accused of sexual offenses involving minors. During the divorce trial, it was confirmed that he had been imprisoned for 3 years and 6 months for gang rape involving a minor. Additionally, the police informed me that before meeting me, he had convictions in England as well. He turned my child against me from the age of 4, and now my son is entirely manipulated. He has been told that I chose another family, that I hurt his father, and that I used to hit him when he was little. During the trial, his father presented a video where my son jumped on my stomach, and I told him it hurt and to stop. During the trial, his father presented a video with my son jumped on my stomach, and I told him it hurt and to stop. When he didn't stop, I moved him off me onto the bed and gave him 2 light slaps on the leg. After I left the room, his father, who had been filming the entire scene without intervening, told my son, "Your mother hit you, didn't she? It hurts, doesn't it? Don't worry, it'll just be us two." Emotionally manipulated, my son began to cry. Currently, my child lives with his father and doesn't want to see or talk to me, not even for a minute. His father's plan to alienate my son from me and his grandparents had succeeded. He always threatened that I would lose my child if I let him. I live with the hope that one day my son will learn the truth and process it in a way that will make him want to reconnect with me. I began speaking out about what was happening to my parents, friends, and acquaintances, hoping to find support. But unfortunately, no one could help me. 2 years ago, I realized that the solution was in my hands if I wanted change. It was up to me whether my life could continue as it was or if I would do something to improve it. That was a moment of powerful realization when I understood that no one could change anything for me except myself. So I started valuing myself more, doing things for me, and putting myself first. After the divorce, I had little hope of meeting another man, rebuilding my life, or trusting that I could love someone again and be loved in return. But someone up there had plans for me. 4 months ago, I met the man who tore down all my walls and helped me heal. He possesses all the qualities and checks every box in the psychological, emotional, financial, and social portrait of my ideal man. In turn, I feel adored by him. I find myself doing things I used to enjoy but had forgotten about, singing loudly around the house, which he loves, joking, laughing with my whole heart. He encourages me, and I feel increasingly confident in myself and my abilities, whether in my way of thinking, expressing myself, communicating, or trying new things. Days with him are completely different from those I lived before. He holds me in his arms all night. We wake up with kisses, and he always makes me coffee and breakfast, bringing them to me while I do my makeup and get ready for work. During this time, he's around me, caressing and kissing me. Whenever his schedules allow, he surprises me by bringing freshly cooked food to my workplace. He often sends me a bouquet of flowers through a courier and loves making various surprises for me: nights out, walks, opera shows, gifts. In the evenings, he waits to pick me up and take me home, where we cook together, watch a movie, cuddle, and love each other. This relationship is a complete contrast to the previous one, where I was always in the dark, living with the feeling that I was losing myself. I felt like I didn't matter, that I was only giving without receiving, that every decision was unilateral and my efforts were invisible. I've learned to love, to let myself be loved, appreciated and protected, to share tasks and responsibilities in a relationship. I've discovered trust in a relationship and understood that true love means balance, respect, and mutual support. Life with him has taught me that a relationship isn't about imposed roles, but about the joy of sharing beautiful moments together, whether we are reading a book, watching a movie, or simply talking like two friends who love each other. My respect, desires, and decisions are valued, and together we form a couple based on love and understanding. He truly is a wonderful man. Don't be naive. Don't stay in an abusive relationship even if there are children involved. Be brave. Take your fate into your own hands and find your peace. Listen to your instincts, find strength within yourself, and ask for help. Stop being a victim. This type of abuser will never change, no matter what you try to do. Even if it's hard at first, trust that everything is for your own good and that you will find peace in the end. I did it, and I trust that things will eventually fall into place for everyone's soul.